Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. We post an interview with an amazing Canadian each weekday for your daily inspiration. Today, I would like to introduce you to my dear friend, Greg Clark. Greg was born in Calgary at the Holy Cross Hospital. He and his amazing wife, Jess, just celebrated their 18th anniversary. Happy anniversary, you two. They also have two fabulous daughters in grade 7 and grade 10. I've met them both, and they're amazing. In addition to his family, Greg is passionate about making our city and province a better place. There are lots of ways to do that, and he hopes to be a small part of leaving this place even better tomorrow than today. He also loves airplanes. He is a plane spotting nerd, and it drives his family crazy, identifying which type of plane is overhead. To him, this is one of the things that he misses the most during the lockdown. Not enough planes to watch. Too funny. Friends, you will find his full bio attached. Greg, thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here, Catherine. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, for sure. May we start with the questions that I sent you this week?
Go for it. Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Okay, the one that everybody has the biggest challenge with, of course, is what was your greatest challenge in the last 2 months?
You know, probably the biggest challenge was my wife, Jess, is in the healthcare world, has some frontline responsibilities. And right as this thing started to hit, her world changed pretty dramatically. And so watching her react to that, and then as a family, having to navigate all the stresses of potentially, do we isolate from each other in our own house? Does Jess find some other weird place to be? In the end, it worked out fine. She ended up doing mostly policy work, and watching it from her perspective, and I guess from our perspective, it was really heartening to see how well our healthcare system responded to this crisis, to see how well organized everything was, to know that there was a plan and a structure, and phase 1 looks like this, and if we meet this criteria, then here's what's going to happen, and if we meet new criteria, then that's what's going to happen. And staff redistribution plans, and just watching the system pivot as quickly as it did gives me a lot of faith and a lot of hope in our healthcare system. And all of those healthcare providers who did all of that frontline work are pretty amazing people. But, you know, I had, in our family, it caused some tense moments as we really had to have some challenging conversations of how things were going to be. The good news is we got through all of that, I think, without ever having to worry about isolating from one another, which would have been really tough. I know some people did have to do that, and probably still are. In our case, we managed to not have to do that. So I feel like we're through that, and now that the sun's shining, we're finding we're able to get outside a little bit more, and it's been a little bit easier in the last couple of weeks.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, Greg. Do you mind if I insert I'd like to have this more of a conversation. Is it okay? I've got another follow-up question around that.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely.
So obviously with Jess being in the healthcare field, are they also talking about the mental health pandemic that they're going to be facing?
You know, I haven't heard it explicitly specific. Well, yes, actually, you know what? Short answer, yes. Yeah, now that I think about it, there has been some materials that have been sent around that Jess forwarded on to me. It is something they are talking about, I think, from two perspectives, from the perspective of the healthcare providers themselves and the impact on the healthcare providers. But I think there is lots of dialogue about the mental health implications on the broader population. In our case, I think one of the things that we have found is there are good days and bad. There are ups and downs and challenges and good days. You know, we started off with this grand plan to do a whole bunch of exercise, and we have I created a Spotify pandemic workout playlist, and we were running up and down the stairs, and it was all very gung-ho. And then a couple of weeks in, we're like, well, we're just not just not what we're doing anymore. That's kind of boring, and there are tough days, and the online school for both girls fortunately has been quite good, but that's had its ups and downs as well. And so I think what we're trying to do as a family is just acknowledge that, try to be gentle to one another, realize that sometimes after a long day of being together, you know what, we're not going to sit and watch a movie together. We're just going to retreat into our corners, and that's just okay. That's what we're going to do tonight, and then tomorrow we'll start again and try to get through tomorrow.
Yay. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. And what about the 3 things that you want to share with the audience today?
Well, I think probably the number one thing is, and thank you for that kind introduction. I'm finding myself much more into the tech sector. I kind of a back to the future thing for me. It's something I did prior to getting into public office, and finding I'm really enjoying that. So probably the number one is that there is a lot of opportunity in Alberta. And in Canada, I think that the pandemic has surfaced a lot of need for tech. There's no question about that. There's also no question it's a very difficult time for our province, and I think we can't undersell that fact. There are a lot of people who really are hurting right now. There's a lot of people who were hurting before COVID hit, before the big Saudi-Russian oil debacle. So that's having a huge impact on people, and I think we can't deny that fact. That is absolutely true. So I do think that we need to continue to push for the oil and gas sector. And my perspective is that we do so much good here on green tech. The investments that come out of oil and gas in green tech that are enabled by building a pipeline are remarkable. And I actually think that there's a strong alignment actually between tackling climate change, between reducing emissions and continuing to invest in oil and gas, because there's so much interesting innovation going on there that are solving those problems. So I think it's actually just a question of framing, and I think we're pretty close, surprisingly enough. So I do think there's reason for optimism, both pairing up the green tech as well as the broader tech sector here in this city and in this province. It's going to take a bit of time, but I actually think we're closer than people realize.
Good, thank you. And do you have more to add? Any other items you want to share?
Well, as part of my tech world, I've joined up with a great startup here in Calgary called RA2. Their website is ra2.io. Yeah, they're a really fabulous group of people. There's a values alignment there in the way they see the world and the way I see the world. And their mission in life is to make connection and common ground a better way of getting a message out there and building a community and communicating with stakeholders than division and polarization. And that applies certainly not just to politics. And in fact, we're really trying to stay away from that political world. It applies, I think, to marketing generally, to not-for-profits, to anyone with a brand or anyone who wants to build community. A message that unifies based on a shared set of values is inherently going to have a bigger audience and be better received than a message that seeks to divide and polarize. And I think what's really interesting about these guys is that they've got some machine learning and artificial intelligence underpinning some of the data science that RA2 does. They do traditional polling and they do traditional market research as well. But what's really exciting is they're starting to pair that up with some advanced artificial intelligence type technologies. And that's happening here in Calgary. So my job as a director on the board is to help them expand that market, help them spread the word, bring a little bit of corporate governance to them, but frankly, not too much, because we want to keep that startup vibe going. They're doing some really, really great stuff. And I'm really, really optimistic about not just RA2 and what that company is doing, but companies like that all around the city and all around the province.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. So 2 more things to add around that, and you probably already know about them. Have you heard of Tech West yet?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm just sending that message out. And then Artificial Intelligence Conference in 2021, I think it's February 2021. If you want, I can send you that info.
Please do. I'm very interested in that. Maybe by then we can actually start to do conferences in person again. Let's hope. Let's hope.
I hope. Good. Okay. I'll send that to you as well. And do you have a good news or legacy story you want to share?
I think that the legacy will hopefully be that we realize the value of science, and that some of the noise around pseudoscience or anti-intellectual, anti-science, anti-vax, all of that stuff hopefully fades away or is diminished, because we have really relied on medical technology and science and you know, the people who are not just working on the front lines, but who are working every day to innovate to help us get over this thing and beat it. And I think when we're questioning data and science, that becomes a real challenge. I think also, hopefully, we can dig into some of the root cause of why people have those views and what it is about science research that people are feeling alienated by. Because we're going to need a lot of buy-in to make sure once we do have this vaccine that in fact it gets distributed, and that's obviously the next step. But I'm hopeful that there's a recognition of the how far we've come and how quickly that hopefully will come on. And the other one I'm optimistic about is compassion and care for one another. I see that in two ways. One, I really hope we get a handle on seniors care in this province and in this country. You know, we're seeing, you know, some just terrible stories coming out of senior care, you know, across the country, and you know, that's always been unacceptable. I think we're finally shining a light on that. Let's hope that this is something that we don't just let fade away over time, and in fact that there's some real change and that we're genuinely taking care of one another. And then just compassion. You know, we were talking before we started here about this hilarious beard that I've got going on. You know, I know a lot of guys are doing that. They've got their COVID beards going. So my wife said, I will pay you anything to shave that thing off. And so I'm going to turn that into the COVID beard challenge. I'm working with the Calgary Food Bank, and we're going to raise some money, get people to sponsor me to shave this ridiculous thing off. I'll probably do it in some stages and create, you know, a kind of a handlebar thing going on. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Depends on how much money I raise. And I'm going to challenge other people to do the same thing, to challenge their loved ones to shave off their COVID beards for the Calgary Food Bank or for a charity of their choice. So wherever possible, I think that's what we do in this province, in this city, is we turn a negative into a positive, and we help those who are helping others.
I know a lot of partners that are going to be really happy with this challenge.
It's been yes, it's been something. I'm kind of getting used to it, but no, I got to say I don't much like it either. I will not be unhappy when it's gone.
Greg, thank you again for being a champion for our community and always a leader. I'm always inspired by our conversations. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, anytime, Catherine, and same to you. These video podcasts are fantastic, and your enthusiasm and your spirit and love for our city and province and country don't go unnoticed. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Well, everybody, that was Mr. Greg Clark. I'm so glad he joined us today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.